Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Achari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava ki Srila Prabhupada ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, text number 35. So it's on there. So Yata Mahati Bhutani Bhutesya Chavachesanu Pravistani Apravistani Tata Tesu Natesu Aham. So everybody after me. Yata Mahanti Bhutani Bhutesu Chavachasu Anu Pravisyani Pravistani Apravistani Tata Tesu Natesu Aham Yata Mahanti Bhutani Bhutesu Chavachesu Anu Pravistani Apravastani Tata Tesu Natesu Aham Yata Mahanti Bhutani Bhutesu Chavachesu Aham Pravastani Apravastani Tata Tesu Natesu Aham. See, bro? Yata Mahanti Bhutani Bhutesu Chavachesu Anu Pravistani Apravistani Tata Tesu Natesu Aham. Anybody else? Try, man. Yata Mahati Bhutani Bhutesu Anu Pravistani Apravistani Tata Tesu Natesu Aham. Any of the small boys? I'll say. Yata Mahante Bhutani Bhutesu Chavasetu Anu Pravistani Apravistani Tata tesu na tesu aham. Thank you. That's good. Right. Mataji's. Okay. Yata, just as Mahatani, the universe, the universal. Bhutani, elements. Bhutesu, Ucha avashesu, in the minute and gigantic. Anu, after. Pravistani, entered. Apravistani, not entered. Tata, so. Tesu, in them. Na, not. Tesu, in them. Aham, myself. Right. So this is a long purport. So we'll try and go through it stage by stage, right? The purport, or the translation, sorry. O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created and at the same time I'm outside of everything. So the purport. The great elements of material creation, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether, all enter into the body of the all-manifested entities, the seas, mountains, aquatics, plants, reptiles, birds, beasts, human beings, demigods, and everyone materially manifested, and at the same time, such elements are differently situated. In the development stage of consciousness, the human being can study both the psychological and physical science, but the basic principles of such science are nothing but material elements and nothing more. The body of the human being and the body of the mountains, as also the bodies of the demigods, including Brahma, are all the same ingredients, earth, water, etc. And at the same time, the elements are beyond the body. The elements were created first, and therefore they entered into the bodily constructions later. But in both circumstances, they entered the cosmos and also do not enter. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his different energies, namely the internal and external, is within everything in the manifested cosmos and at the same time is outside of everything, situated in the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha, as described before. This is very nicely explained in the Brahma Samhita. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratipa Vistabis Tabir Ya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabir Goloka Eva Navisati Akhilatma Batu Govinda Maripurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, who, by expansions of his internal potencies of transcendental science, knowledge, and bliss, enjoys his own and expands himself in his form. Similarly, simultaneously, he enters into every atom of creation. This expansion of the planetary parts is also more definitely explained in the same Brahma Samhita 535 as follows. Eko pi asu racha nyatam jagat ananta kotim yat shakshur ati jagat ananda chaya yat anta anandata rasatam paramao chaya nyanta rastam govindam aripurusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the personality of God at Govinda, who by one of his planetary portions enters into the existence of every universe and every particles of the atoms, and thus unlimitedly manifests his finite energy all over the material creation. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jalasalakaya Chakshul Omnita Miyana Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimati Pata Sarati Das Goswami Iti Name Das Ande Nama Bhajana Samsaya Yamya Guru Devashtapikam Sitavatsala. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paschachade Sachani. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, the word Mahatani Bhutani, it refers to the material, cosmic, the total ingredients, right? The Mahatattva. And that's the total of all ingredients of creations, right? So the Mahatattva, it comes from Mahavishnu. Just as this verse, Prabhupada is explaining, I worship the primeval personality, I worship the personality of God Govinda, who by one of his planetary portions enters into the material existence of every universe and every atom, and thus ultimately manifests his infinite energy all over the creations. So this verse is referring to Lord Vishnu, right? Mahavishnu. So Krishna, at the time of creation, so Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, as explained in the first one. Goloka eva navistani akila atma batu. Right? So Krishna is in Goloka Vrindavan, enjoying in Goloka Vrindavan, right? But when the living entities wants to enjoy themselves, then Krishna creates the material universe. Right? And along with this material universe are the material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, or false ego. Right? So these elements are there in the scene. And Krishna actually creates this universe, and also Krishna manifests himself as Mahavishnu, and he enters into this whole material creation. But at the same time, Krishna is still in the original supreme, in Goloka Vrindavan. This word Akila Atma Batu, right? Akila Atma means one who's manifested everywhere, right? One who's manifested everywhere. So Krishna is everywhere. But then before that it says, Goloka eva navistani. That Krishna is everywhere, but at the same time, he's in Goloka Vrindavan. Now, how many of us can say that I'm here today, I'm here sitting on this Vyasan, right? But at the same time, I'm in my house watching TV. Can you say that? Small boys? Can you say that? You're at home, and at the same time, you're in school. You like to be like that? To be at home and same time at school. You like to do that, huh? Yes, we all would like to do it. When we were in school, we would rather be at home and be in school, right? But we can't do that. Can you do that? Can you be at home and you can be at school? No, you can't do that, right? So this is the difference between the living entities and us. We cannot be in two places at the same time. We're either here or we're either inside or we're either outside. It's simple like that. There's a differentiation. You have inside or you're outside, or you're either at home or you're either in school, or you're either here at home or you're at work. But Krishna is not like that. Krishna, he can be here, he can be at home, and he can be in school. Right? So Krishna can be in two places at the same time. The pastime that explains this was the Brahma pastime. Lord Brahma. When Brahma came, he stole the cowherd boys. Right? He stole the cowherd boys from Krishna. When all the boys went on, they went on picnic, right? They having a picnic. Then the cows went out, and the boys said, the cows went, let's go. Krishna said, no, you all stay here. I will go get the cows and come. So he went to the cows, and Brahma stole all the cows. Right? And Krishna manifested himself into these cowherd boys. All the cowherd boys, the cows and all. Right? So when Brahma came, he came back and he saw Krishna sitting with the cowherd boys. And they went back and saw the cowherd boys there. So Brahma could see, Krishna is here, but Krishna is also there with the cowherd boys. Like this. So this pastime explains this, like how Krishna can be simultaneously two places. Now this explains that how the potency of God. This is, if anybody wants, Prabhupada is explaining that if anybody wants to be God, then they have to show these kinds of potencies. There was one person who came to Prabhupada and said, my guru says he's God. And Prabhupada gave him a challenge. Right? He gave him a challenge. He said, go ask your guru. Go ask your guru if he can lift Govardhan Hill. So this guy went back and asked his guru, can you lift Govardhan Hill? And his guru said, no, that's impossible. So immediately he knew he was not God. And that explains that that's one proof how you can, that's one way of how you can prove a person has not been God. And is coming to this, I'm just thinking not past time, but one story. When I was in radio, or like when I was in the scene, so one of my friends, we had this show, and more like a comedy show, and he actually said, like, he's like God, like, So I said, okay, you God. So I gave him the 3 ohm test. You know what's the 3 ohm test? You know what's the 3 ohm test? So if anybody come ask you who's God, you give them the 3 ohm test. Omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. Right? Omniscient means what? You know what omniscient means? You know what omniscient means? It means one who knows everything. So one who knows everything is omniscient, all knowledgeable. Right? So I asked him a question which I'm not going to tell you on this Vyasa-san. I'll maybe tell you later. Right? So I asked him a question and he could not answer that question. Right? Then I asked him, are you omnipresent? And he said, yes, he's omnipresent. Because he's on radio. So he's here in the studio, but he's everywhere. But I said, for how many hours? Only for 3 hours. What kind of God are you? For you're omnipresent only for 3 hours. You understand? So although the radio, he needed a radio to be omnipresent everywhere. Right? But Krishna is not like that. Krishna is not that kind of God. Krishna is omnipresent at all times. Everywhere at all times. Not for 3 hours only. And the third one was omni? Yes, exactly, yes. So you don't need an instrument to be present everywhere. Right? Krishna is present everywhere. The omnipresent, omnipotent, and omnipotent. Omnipotent means that Krishna can, any of Krishna's senses can do the function of another. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Vigrasa. There's a verse in Brahma Samhita. It explains that Krishna can use his one sense for the function of another. Like Krishna eats. All right? And how Krishna eats? How we eat. How do you eat? How do you eat? With the mouth. Can you eat with your eyes? You can't eat with your eyes. Can you eat with your nose? You can't eat with your nose. But Krishna can do that. Krishna can eat. Prabhupada explains that Krishna eats through hearing. When the Brahmins chant the mantras, that Krishna is actually listening. And he also eats through the mouth of the Brahmins. Right? So Krishna can do that. Krishna can do that. Krishna can eat with his ears. Krishna can eat with his eyes. Right? Krishna can do so many functions that all other senses interact. And this is what makes Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So let's continue reading the verse. The impersonalists can imagine or even perceive that the Supreme Brahman is thus all-pervading, and therefore they conclude that there is no possibility of his personal form. Herein lies the mysteries of his transcendental knowledge. This mystery is transcendental knowledge of this mystery of love of this mystery is transcendental love of Godhead, and who is surcharged with such transcendental love of Godhead can without difficulty see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every atom and every movable and immovable object. And at the same time, he can see the personality of Godhead in his own abode, Goloka, enjoying eternal pastimes with his eternal associates, who is also expansions of his transcendental existence. This vision is the real mystery of the spiritual knowledge. As stated by the Lord in the beginning, Sahasranam Tad Angam Cha. This mystery is the most confidential part of knowledge of the Supreme, and it is impossible for the mental speculator to discover by the dint of intellectual gymnastics. The mystery can be revealed through the process recommended by Brahmaji in the Brahma Samhita 538 as follows. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochena santa sadeva ridesu vilochena yam shama sundaram achintya guna swarupam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the original personality Godhead Govinda, whom the pure devotees, their eyes smeared with the ointment of love of Godhead, always observed within their hearts. This Govinda, the original personality Godhead, is Shama Sundar with all transcendental qualities. So this part of the Prabhupada is explained that a pure devotee only can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, inside and outside, because they see Krishna with love. Right? When we see the deities, we see with love. Right? If we don't have love and see the deities, what we'll see? When we look at the deities and we don't have love, what will we see? Anybody? We'll see idols. We'll think it's idol worship. But because the devotees, through our chanting, has developed the love, we can see Krishna personally in the deities. Right? So here Prabhupada is explaining that the devotees is different from the impersonalists. This mystery is different from, it will never be understood by the impersonalists. Prabhupada said this mystery knowledge. I was listening to the other day, one lecture by Prabhupada, and Prabhupada explained the difference between the Brahman and the Vaishnavas. Right? So the Brahmins, generally the Mayavadi Brahmins, will explain that they only can see Brahman, the impersonalism, that God is impersonal, God no form, has no form. But the devotees, the Vaishnavas, what makes them higher is that they see Brahman, they see Paramatma, and they see Bhagavan. They see the whole three aspects of God. Brahmante, Paramatme, Bhagavane, Sabhate. Right? That God is impersonal, God is everywhere, and God is personal. So these are the three features of God. And this the devotees can see. And this is the mystery that the devotees have, we can see. Right. Let's continue. Therefore, although he is present in every atom, the Supreme Personality Godhead may not be visible to dry speculators. Still, the mystery is unfolded before the eyes of our pure devotees, because their eyes are anointed with love of Godhead. And this love of Godhead can be attained only by the practice of transcendental loving service and nothing else. The visions of the devotees is not ordinary. It is purified by the process of devotional service. And in other words, as the universal elements are both within and without, similarly the Lord's name, form, qualities, pastimes, entourage, etc., as they are described in the revealed scriptures, or as performed in the Vaikuntras, far, far beyond the material cosmic manifestation, are factually being televised in the heart of the devotee. A man with a pure fund of knowledge cannot understand, although by material science one can see things far away by means of the television. Factually, the spiritually developed person is able to have a television of kingdom of God always reflected within his heart. That is the mystery of the knowledge of the personality of Godhead. So here Prabhupada is explaining that how the devotee can see the Lord through loving devotional service. Right? So devotional service is the only way that we can see the Lord. And Prabhupada says that this love that the devotee has actually makes him see the Lord in his heart like a television. Right? So in Bhagavad Gita, we understand that Sanjaya, right? Sanjaya was sitting in Istanipur, Delhi, right? Istanipur. And he was narrating the whole battlefield of Kurukshetra, what is going on. And he narrated the Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra. Now, how Sanjaya could do that is because he had the mercy by his spiritual master Vyasadeva to actually televise, quote unquote, televise the whole battlefield to Dhritarashtra, because he had some kind of love, right? So the devotees, just like that, they have this love, and they can televise, that knowledge is televised to them because of that love within their hearts. Within their hearts, this knowledge is televised. The Lord can award anyone and everyone liberation, mukti, from the bondage of material existence. Yet he really awards the privilege of love of Godhead, as confirmed in Narada. Muktim dadati karchit samna bhakti yogam. This transcendental devotional service of the Lord is so wonderful that the occupation keeps the deserving devotee always wrapped in psychological activities without deviation from the absolute touch. Thus, love of God developed in the heart of the devotee is a great mystery. Brahmaji previously told Narada that the desires of Brahmaji are never unfulfilled because he is always absorbed in the transcendent lover service of the Lord. Nor has he any desire in his heart save and accept the transcendental service of the Lord. That is the beauty of the mystery of the process of Bhakti Yoga. As the devotee desires is infallible because he is Achyuta, similarly as the Lord's desire is infallible because he is Achyuta, similarly the desires of the devotee is transcendental love and service of the Lord is also Achyuta, infallible. This is a difference, however, this is very difficult, however, for a layman to understand without knowledge of the mysteries of devotional service, as it is very difficult to know the potency of the touchstone. As touchstone is very rarely found, a pure devotee of the Lord is also rarely seen, even amongst millions of liberated souls. Kutesu api mahanasu. Out of all kinds of perfections attained by the process of knowledge, yoga perfection in devotional service is the highest of all, and the most mysterious also, even more mysterious than the 8 kinds of mystic perfections attained by the process of yogic performance. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord therefore advises Arjuna about the Bhakti Yoga. Sarvam gunatmat atma boya sunye parama vacha. Just hear from me again without the most confidential part of instructions. Just hear from me again about the most confidential part of instructions of Bhagavad Gita. The same was confirmed by Brahmaji to Narada in the following verse. Idam Bhagavatam mama nama nyam me Bhagavati tam sangraho yam vibhutenam tam etad vipalekuru. Right? So, liberation, right? Prabhupada says the word can award anyone in liberation from the bondage of material existence, yet he really awards the privilege of love of Godhead, right? So this love of Godhead is not something, that is easily awarded to anybody. It's like diamonds and glass. Tomorrow we open a shop and we're selling the most expensive diamonds in the world, will people come by? How many people from Phoenix will come buy diamonds? Not much, right? Right? Can't afford it, right? But if you're selling fake glass, fake diamonds, everybody will come by, isn't it? At cheap cost, everybody will come by. Similarly like this. So, Krishna does not give, he can give liberation to anybody compared to the fake glass, the fake diamonds. But the real diamond is very difficult to get. So that we have to work for it. And how we work for it? Through devotional service. Prabhupada gives the example of a touchstone. You know what's a touchstone? You know what's a touchstone? You know what's a touchstone? Touchstone is something where you touch, it turns into gold. You like to have something like that? You like to have something like that, where you take a stone and you touch it up here and it becomes gold. So that's it. That's what touchstone is. It's very rare to get. Very rare to get. The pastimes of Sanatana Goswami. So there's one man, one guy actually, he understood Sanatana Goswami had something very, very valuable. And he went to, he had this touchstone, which was very valuable. So he went to Sanatana Goswami and said, I heard that you have this touchstone. Can I have this thing? I heard you something very valuable here. So the touchstone, yeah. So Sanatana Goswami said, oh yes, it's there in that rubbish bins. Go, you can take it from there. So this guy went. and he found the touchstone, and he went and he was going with his touchstone. And then he realized, Sanatana Goswami said, they said this touchstone is the most valuable thing, but why did Sanatana Goswami throw it in a rubbish bin? Which means he's got something more important, more valuable. And he came back and asked Sanatana Goswami, do you have, you gave me this touchstone, but it was in the bin, rubbish bin. Do you have anything more valuable? And they said, yes, but first throw away the touchstone, and I'll give you the most valuable. So eventually he convinced him to throw it away, and he threw it in the sea. And Sanatana Goswami gave him, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he gave him practically love of Godhead. So this is how rare it is to get Krishna Prem, or because Krishna can give you liberation. Everybody wants liberation, right? We want to be liberated. We want to be out of the material world. Do you want to be in suffering? Do you want to suffer? Do you want to continue going to school? Suffer in school? Do you want to suffer in school? You don't want to suffer in school, right? So school life is like suffering, right? But just like that, we don't want that. Nothing, but we have to get it. So we want to be liberated from this. We want to get out of this suffering. But that's easy to get. That's easy. You can stay at home. Right? That's easy. But the love of God, it is difficult. And Krishna really gives us to, and he is also explaining that out of all kinds of perfections attained in the process of knowledge, yoga perfection in devotion service is the highest of all, and the most mysterious also, even more mysterious than the 8 kinds of mystic perfections attained by the process of yogic performance. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord therefore advises Arjuna about this bhakti. Sarva punyatma bunyam sritme me parama vacha. Just hear from me again about the most confidential part of instructions in Bhagavad Gita. The same was also confirmed by Brahmaji to Narada in the following verse. Idam Bhagavatam nama yam me Bhagavati totam sangraha yam vibhutam etad etva etad vipulikuru. Brahmaji said to Narada, whatever I've spoken to you about the Bhagavatam was explained to me by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am advising you to expand these topics nicely so that people may easily understand the mysterious Bhakti Yoga by transcendental loving service. It is to be noted here that the mystery of Bhakti Yoga is disclosed to Brahmaji by the Lord himself. Brahmaji explained the same mysteries to Narada. Narada explains it to Vyasa, and Vyasadeva explains it to Sukadeva Goswami. And at the same time is coming down in an unlearned chain of disparate succession. If one is fortunate enough to have received the knowledge of the transcendental disparate succession, surely he will have the chance to understand the mysteries of the Lord. And that is the Srimad Bhagavatam, the sound incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this verse is explaining, this part, well, that's the end of the verse, and he's explaining the disparate succession. You know what's a disparate succession? A disparate succession. You know what it is? Okay, I'm going to explain to you. You go to school, right? So you got a teacher, right? You got a teacher. So your teacher had a teacher, right? So your teacher had one teacher. Understand? That teacher had another teacher, and that teacher had another teacher. So everybody's got a teacher, and they're giving this knowledge. So Krishna gave the knowledge to Brahma. Brahma gave the knowledge to Narada. Narada gave the knowledge to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva gave his disciple, and it continued all the way down to Srila Prabhupada. So that's how our knowledge is coming through, down, right? So this is the disciplic succession, and this is what Prabhupada is explaining, that this Srimad Bhagavatam is coming through. This is a sound incarnation of God. This is incarnation of God, Krishna, right? So this knowledge is coming through a chain of spiritual masters. It's not some knowledge perceived or concocted like Darwin's theory, right? Darwin went down to the mount, it's like islands. Some islands, he went there, he saw some animals, he saw some birds who looks different from the ones in the UK and England, And he came up with this whole concocted ideas of how evolution came about. Right? So that's not how we get knowledge. We don't look at something. If I look at the book, at the cover of the book, like what you're going to do in school, look at the cover of the book, read the first page, read the half the page, read the back of the scene, and make your own stories. Right? So don't do that. That's what we used to do in school. No, you don't get knowledge to that. You get knowledge through a teacher, and a teacher will tell you what's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So that's the conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this verse. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any points to add? Go. Mm-hmm. So it's not that we don't accept it. We accept it, it's there, but we also go above it. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy of Achincha Bheda Bheda Tattva, right? So it's simultaneously one and different. So God is impersonal, Krishna is impersonal, and at the same time is personal. But the personal form is a higher form. Understand? It's like the light, right? So we have the light over here, but there's a source of this light, which is ISKCON. And behind ISKCON, there's a person. Okay. So we accept the light, we accept ISKCON, and we accept the person behind the whole thing. So that's how it is. So yeah, so it's Brahmati, Paramatmi, Bhagavati, Savate. That there is impersonal, Paramatma, the localized aspect, and also the person. It's that. No, Mayavadis don't accept this. Yes, they only accept the impersonal. Because they feel that, how can the Supreme have a form? But Prabhupada easily, there's an easy way of defeating that. If somebody says that, God has not have a form, don't have a form, we can ask him, do you have a form? So naturally, the person will say yes, because he has a form. So he says, if you got a form and God does not have a form, that means you got something that God does not have. Understand the point? So, which means you are greater than God, because God hasn't got a form. So Krishna, as we're saying in this verse, his inside, his outside, he has everything. And he does not have a form, and at the same time he has a form like that. But we accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality, Godhead. We're Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the important word. The person who is supreme.
How can the Son have a form when the Father don't have
A form, exactly, yeah. The Son, yes, exactly. It's another form, yeah. That's another point I'm saying. So it's just like Vinod and his son. His son's got a form, but Vinod doesn't have a form. It doesn't make sense. So, thank you very much. Anything else, Prabhu? Mataji's, anything? Srila Prabhupada ki, Go Premanande.